very good evening. You're watching the News Night and I'm Deepti Sachdeva. And on the show tonight, we are talking of India's boldest move yet, ever since you've seen the Pahalgam attack. Remember, as we were just walking into the studios, we picked up two important announcements or news that you must be aware of. The first is what India now has said are going to be massive air exercises along the Pakistan border for tomorrow. And this is, remember, on the western side. So this is the border with Pakistan from Rajasthan. Though the Indian Air Force has also said that these are pre-planned exercises, but clearly you must know that this is happening in today's day and time. And then these are exercises that take place for 2 days, that is tomorrow and day after. And you will also have the very first pan-India mock drills. You will be hearing a lot of these war sirens roaring across about 244 districts in a historic mock drill. Why do we say historic? Because this is the first in the last 54 years. The last time around we had, such kind of mock drills was way back in 1971 when you had that war, and those images are also up on your screens, and a lot of us are not old enough to remember this, but these are important and extremely sensitive times we are living in. Now, the message to Pakistan, what is that message? The message to Pakistan is loud and clear that the rogue state and all its terror masters now need to run for cover because they need to stop their threats. India is not just united, India is unbreakable, and it's also ready to crush terror. Stay tuned for that explosive story as we deep dive into that and get you more details. Without wasting time, I quickly want to say good evening to our panel of guests joining us to help us decode what could the next few hours to the next few days to weeks entail. This is the drill of defense versus Pakistan, literally defenseless. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and an honor to have Sushant Sareen, a strategic affairs expert and a senior fellow at the ORF with us. We also have Lieutenant General S.N. Narasimhan, who's a defense expert on the show, along with Major General Sanjay Soy, who's also a defense expert. He's completing our panel. And Sushant, with your permission, I will go to both the gentlemen, and I also want to fire our straight questions, because these are straight questions that we will try to find an answer to during the course of the show. These are simple, direct, hard-hitting questions. Why are we doing this? Is the answer because we are also wanting to test our preparedness? The first question. This brings us to our second straight question now that's going to go up on your screens. As you look at everything that has been happening, is this the clearest message yet, ladies and gentlemen, for a defiant Pakistan? That is important. We'll discuss that also. This brings us to our third straight question. Pakistan's bluff and Pakistan's blackmail. Is it being called out now? And India is on the right track to doing exactly that. This brings us to our fourth question, which is important. A lot of Pakistan's internal crisis. What about the imploding Balochistan story? Why is Pakistan not talking about it? And is it not important that Pakistan first looks to set its own house in order before it even thinks of matching India's might? This brings us to our fifth straight question now that is also on your screens. Can an quote-unquote absurd OIC save Pakistan? Absurd is a statement that was issued by the OIC that has been called out by New Delhi, making it absolutely clear that no matter what you want to do, you want to save Pakistan, but the world is clearly not on your side. So that's an important statement that you have seen. And let's also not forget the UNSC, where Pakistan went running, has literally also put Pakistan on the mat. So let's begin first up by Lieutenant General S.N. Narasimhan and ask him that what do these exercises, sir, entail, and the fact that India has also announced that there are going to be those air exercises for 2 days starting tomorrow on the western border. What is the message?
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Firstly, let me put this air exercise in its right perspective. The spokesperson for Air Force has already mentioned that it is a pre-planned exercise. And so obviously, of course, it is taking place at the time and place where it is happening, as you mentioned, which has got implications. But otherwise, it is supposed to have been a pre-planned exercise, and so we will keep it there. As far as this civil defense exercises are concerned, I think you're right. From 1971 onward, this has not been tested, and a couple of generations have actually not known what these kind of exercises are. And in case of an escalation by Pakistan and some kind of offensive comes from the Pakistan side towards us, I think our civilian population needs to be prepared for it, particularly the younger ones and the old people. Of course, the middle-aged ones also are in the fray. But the thing is that we need to know exactly what to do, where to react, where to look for, where to reach, and what to do is something I think all of us should know in case of an escalation that takes place from the Pakistani side. I think that is particularly the point. The second point is, I think we need to be helping out each other. Like, for example, it is not only you trying to go into a shelter, you trying to seek some kind of a support, but I think you also need, each one of us have to give that support to others who need it. So I think this is the kind of thing the civil defense exercise would bring up. And I think that is the aim of this particular exercise that is going to be done tomorrow.
Okay, let me get Major General Sanjay Soy to push that point a little further before Sushant comes in on the big picture here. Now, General Sanjay Soy, when you look at everything that Pakistan has been saying and doing in the last many days, ever since Pahalgam, you will see that Pakistan does not get the writing on the wall. Do you believe what's been happening in India is good enough a message to call out Pakistan's bluff and blackmail?
In fact, thank you so much, Deepti. I would like to add here what General Narasimhan has said. He has brought out very valid points. Is that we do not want any knee-jerk reactions to anything, because the way, the kind of statements Pakistan is making, they're very immature statements. They're not by some mature statements or mature statesmen. So every time they start talking of nuclear weapons, every time they start talking of war, we are not even named. We just said that perpetrators of terrors will be punished. So their statement, it is very important for us to be prepared. And these kinds of drills actually, I would say that are happening first time after 1971, this kind of large-scale exercise. Very important that it is not only armed forces which get affected by the war.
Yes.
Everybody gets affected, whether it is a civilian or all kinds of organization. Couple of things which will emerge out of this is that we will be prepared for any kind of air threat or any other kind of threat, whether it is a nuclear, biological, chemical, any kind of thing can happen. Second thing is, we know that there are a lot of coordination required between armed forces, civilian, and everybody has to coordinate, gear up, because it is a civil defense, National Cadet Corps, NSS, or Scouts and Guides. We have got a lot of organized bodies which can definitely, what you have brought out is, help each other and overcome any kind of situation. So it is mainly the preparatory action, and I think very happy to note that these kinds of just practices are going on, and others are of course the routine exercise. Pakistan is getting unnecessarily rattled, and they are making all kinds of statements. As in armed forces, we say, the more you sweat during peace, less you bleed in war. That kind of, those are the things which are practicing deeply.
Okay, good point to actually get in, Sushant. Sushant, what is this Pakistan's real story? Pakistan does not tell us more about what's been happening in Balochistan. That is a headache. There is a lot of discontent when it comes to the deep state itself. So would Pakistan do well to, in fact, figure out what's going on in its own backyard before it even thinks that it can match India's might?
Deepti, I think Pakistan has virtually run out of ideas on how to manage their own country. And the fact of the matter remains that the insurgency in Balochistan has been going on for almost a quarter century now. From the turn of the century it started. It's had its ebbs and flows, but it's continued. And in fact, over the last couple of years, it has gained in intensity. The same thing which we are seeing up north in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The Pakistanis initially played with this whole Taliban thing. Now it's come back to bite them, and they really don't have an answer as to how to exactly fix it. So yes, they go in for these short-term tactical solutions, sometimes talk to the Taliban, try and make some adjustments, but they're not solving this issue. And in addition, there are other problems coming in. The economy is tanking. The politics is totally broken because you have an illegitimate government in power. Now, the point which I'm trying to make is that with all of this happening inside Pakistan, how does the Pakistan army, whose name is mud in Pakistan, how does it recover lost ground? How does it recover its prestige and its position as the top dog in Pakistan? Because it is being lampooned even in Punjab now. And it is being lampooned by the elite in Punjab, not just by maybe the peasantry or people who are not part of the elite. It is being actually lampooned by the elite, by the educated middle classes in Punjab, which was the bulwark behind the army. Now, the best way for an army in Pakistan to recover lost ground is to ratchet up tensions with India. So, I don't think they are thinking that, by ratcheting up tensions with India, they're actually harming their own country.
Okay.
But I think their calculation is that they are protecting their own privileged position in Pakistan and making the country rally behind them. Now, supposing nothing happens, let us for a moment assume that nothing happens. Even then, this reputational image which they have gained is not going to last very long, because there are real problems already in Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And if something happens, then those real problems are going to become even more onerous than what they already are. So I don't see, how this thing becomes a winning strategy for the Pakistan army. But then generals in Pakistan have never thought strategically. They've always thought tactically. They are into this low-level cunningness, low-level cleverness, which they will try and pull a surprise over somebody. But they lose the larger plot, which I would imagine they are going to lose again.
That is true. I think, Sushant, you've also touched on a lot of important points, and it's only fair that I let Lieutenant General S.N. Narasimhan take that a little ahead, because gone are the days, sir, when we used to talk about, state and non-state actors in Pakistan. Do you think that line now has blurred? Forget the non-state actors. It is the state. It is the deep state in Pakistan today that has not just ratcheted up tensions, like Sushant has also said, but also responsible for making a lot of comments that possibly people connect the dots to.
You're very right. You take your mind back to 99. It's again the deep state that was in function. Okay, so that started the whole issue of Kargil. So deep state and Pakistan army and the government have always been involved in something or the other as far as this issue is concerned. The second issue about Pahalgam is, as you are aware, the terrorist activity levels had come down in Kashmir quite a bit. So if you let that movement to die, it will be extremely difficult for you to restart this movement. So to keep it going, they have to push something. So obviously they did a Pahalgam this time. So you are very right in saying this. There has been a connect, definitely, and that connect has always been played out in terms of such activities. And every time the terrorist levels of activity goes down in Kashmir, it again gets whipped up by this kind of a thing. You talked about Balochistan. You please understand the Pakistan army, the way it was troubled by the train that got hijacked by the Baloch insurgents and everything else.
Yes.
On one hand, the Pakistan army is finding itself pushed to a corner. On the other hand, there is a need for pushing the terrorism up. I think they took the later path of pushing it up, and that is how this entire incident has happened. Unfortunately, the Pakistan army doesn't seem to be learning its lessons from the past. And I don't think they have learned it even this time. So therefore, when our PM mentioned that there will be some kind of a severe action that will take place,
yes.
I think
he said
that is
unimaginable
what the Pakistan army is
punishment. We'll go till the ends of the earth, even to catch those who are responsible for this and those behind this.
Absolutely. So that is what is actually catching the goat of the Pakistan and Pakistan armed forces. And I think they are now running everywhere to find some kind of a support which they're not getting. So obviously, the Pakistan army has been pushed to a corner. The Pakistan as a government and a country has been pushed to a corner. Now they are trying to find a way out, which they are finding it difficult. So this is the situation in which they find themselves in.
Okay. Then Major General Sanjay Soy, I mean, how do you see India's response so far? There are a lot of people, who do understand that any response will obviously entail a lot of thought process. You need to figure out the time, the place, the method, how you would respond. Then comes this mock drill. How do you read into what has happened so far, and what are the next few days to the weeks looking like?
Dipti, I would like to say here that this is the responses of historical in nature, because after Uri also and Pulwama also, these kind of mobilization had not taken place. The kind of mobilization across the country has taken place, whether it is in the industrial sector, diplomatic sector, economic sector, or armed forces. Everybody is getting geared up, and the way things have moved, the Pakistan is not realizing where it has put itself into. They are finding it themselves into totally thick soup, and I would say that a kind of preparation which are going on. We can do anything which Prime Minister mentioned militarily. Some actions have already taken place, like holding in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty and other actions of stopping trade with Pakistan, not allowing use of our ports or airspace. Those have already started having impact on the Pakistan, and the kind of statements which have come out after holding in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty, probably that has really hit them badly. So
Yes.
certain things have come out. We have still all our options open, whether to go in for limited strike, whether to go in all out, or whether still the kind of things which are happening in Balochistan or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area, the Pakistan is imploding. The people in POK are already restless. People in Punjab are restless. Army has lost. The Pakistan army has lost all the respect in the within the country. So those are some other issues which can be exploited at the moment, because one says everything is fair in love and war, and we should not hesitate in probably
Okay.
making use of the uncertainties in Pakistan.
Okay, and I don't think India is doing that, Sushant. I mean, is that also your sense? Because India has never abstained away from just calling out Terroristan, from saying that, we need to hit out at terror. But also tell me something, Sushant, when you look at how Pakistan has been dealt with at the UNSC and the response that has come in from that OIC statement that India has called absurd, are there still issues when you look the world across? Are there still countries and capitals who are wary of calling out Pakistan?
So, Deepthi, again, I think one thing I must clarify right at the outset, the question which you asked General Narasimhan, please perish the thought that there are any non-state actors. We use this term non-state actors to give an alibi to state actors. All these so-called non-state actors are actually auxiliaries of the state. You think the Lashkar-e-Taiba operates independent of the Pakistan army and the Pakistani state? Pakistan army is the Pakistani state. Nobody asks Shahbaz Sharif anything. So please perish the thought. Let's not get into this thing about non-state actors. On the other question about what has happened at the OIC, look, OIC nobody takes seriously. OIC doesn't take OIC seriously, for God's sake. And the Pakistanis very often say about OIC, that has been always their bugbear, that it is OIC, because that's what happens out there. And most of the other countries which have very good relations with India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, a number of other Islamic countries which have great relations with India, will just go along with the flow and just sign on the dotted line and say it doesn't matter anyways, so don't fret about it. And we just respond to any OIC resolution in the same way as we have done today. So I don't see much in that. The second aspect is what has happened in the UNSC. And I think out there, the Pakistanis have received a bit of a rebuff because they were jumping up with joy after that first resolution came out, and they claimed that they had managed to take, and they actually felt proud that they had managed to successfully delete the name of a terrorist group like the Resistance Front or Resistance Force, whatever the damn, that we've got this deleted, right? Now, this is their claim to fame. This is their success, that they managed to remove reference to a terror group, which is also linked to Lashkar-e-Taiba. But in the second meeting which happened yesterday, apparently some very tough questions were asked of the Pakistanis. But at the same time, I don't think we should kid ourselves. I think most countries, even if you remember Kargil, Deepthi, what happened during Kargil was when the conflict started, initially we were told, please exercise restraint. Please do things which, could lead to this conflict going out of control. We were being counseled that by virtually everybody in the world, even though they had invaded us. So something similar is happening right now where everybody's counseling restraint. Now, I think once that restraint factor is thrown out and the government acts, whenever it acts, a month from now, 2 months from now, 2 days from now, 2 hours from now, 10 months from now, I don't know. I don't have the time frame with me, right? But the government will do it when it feels that it's ready to just take this thing forward. I think at that point of time, a lot of attitudes are likely to change because people will then come out a lot more openly than what they have done right now as they did after Kargil. After the conflict started in Kargil, nobody told us anything after that. Everybody, if the shoe was on the other foot, they would tell the Pakistanis to back off. They were not telling us to back off because we were fighting for our own survival and our own security and our own territory.
Absolutely.
The ones who invaded,
Yes.
right? So I think we need to look at the world reaction a little more circumspectly than what we have been doing so far. Nobody is going to take any sides right now. Forget about it. But there are countries that are taking a side openly, and
Okay.
I would imagine that we should penalize those countries. China, Azerbaijan, Turkey. But you know, the way our governments also operate, that Turkey, we continue to do Operation Dost, and Padani, what all nonsense we keep doing with these Turks, little realizing that the Turks have never been well disposed towards us. So why do we do this stupidity with them?
Absolutely.
If
You
a-
know, Sushant, I think there are a lot of layers to that India's response that possibly could now entail a lot of those costs that you are referring to. Now, I just have the last few minutes on the show, gentlemen, and I want to squeeze in enough comments from all of you because a lot of our viewers have been asking. We will begin with Lieutenant General Narasimhan to ask him that what do you think should be the best response when you're dealing with Pakistan? How do we ensure there is never another Pahalgam?
See, the way to do this is, just take your mind back to 16 and 19 when we did those, that surgical strike as well as the air strike that took place. All these things buy you for a specific time some kind of a reduction in the activities in that area. I think what we need to probably do is to keep that pressure constantly going, so that such activities do not come back again onto our soil. That is one. The second thing is on the response to what happened in Pahalgam. I am sure this time around there will be something more than what happened in 16 and 19, but I'm not sure of the magnitude, place, and time of these responses from us. I am sure that is being worked out in detail. And one of the things is what is happening for the civil defense exercises tomorrow. And I think whenever it comes, there is going to be a strong response against Pakistan. And we need to keep the pressure on continuously is the lesson that we take from it.
Okay, you say we need to keep the pressure on. General Sanjay Soy, your thoughts, sir?
Actually, I fully endorse the views of General Narasimhan. In fact, when Uri happened, Pakistan thought that we stopped cricket matches. We did surgical strike. When Pulwama happened, we did Balakot. So that surprise factor should remain this time also. And they are not able to guess what we mean, where we are going to hit. And that is where probably
Okay, so you want to say keep Pakistan on tenterhooks. That's a good plan. Sushant, what do you think should be the way forward?
Look, I am very clear that this Pakistan problem, even if whatever action we are going to take now, is not going to go away. And please allow me half a minute.
Exactly half a minute, yes.
So I think this is not going away. But I think we need to ask ourselves, why is it that in a country which has 40 times the foreign exchange of Pakistan, 10 times the economy of Pakistan, that people are still saying that, maybe in a short war we are evenly matched. We should not be evenly matched. We should have overwhelming superiority over these fellows so that we can go kick butt whenever we want to. And I think this has been one of the greatest failing of Indian defense planning at a strategic level. And I think this is the time to also call it out that, we really need to start focusing on how we need to build up our defense sinews to a point where these tin pot countries cannot afford carry out the kind of operations they do against us, because then there will be horrific consequences that will be visited upon them. I hope we wake
that is food for thought from Sushant. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time, perspective. We look forward to talking to you again. And as we come to the end of the show, let's also get you Newsnight's parting shot. What really are the big takeaways? What's happened is that hours ago, you had an IED blast in Pakistan's Balochistan. In Pakistan's Balochistan, that has killed 7 of Pakistani soldiers. What does this expose? Pakistan's crumbling foundation and Pakistan's deepening crisis. And where is India? India stands as a fortress of strength right now. That has announced air exercises on the western border, though the Indian Air Force says that these are pre-planned exercises. But remember, there are dramatic and fast-moving developments, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight is going to be a long night for Pakistan. Trust NDTV to keep you on top of that story as we'll continue to track that. For the moment, it's time for me to say thank you and good night to you. We'll see you tomorrow.
More news that matters.
Big exclusive. Tulsi Gabbard gunned down by Pakistan-backed cowards.
When you interact with people on ground, you're able to reflect their sentiments much better.
More debates that shake the system. More exclusives you won't find anywhere else. Not just another prime time. It's a prime time that's unmissable.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of